Are you leading like a manager or a coach? If you've ever felt stuck doing it all yourself, stressed by the pressure to perform, or unsure how to build trust with your team, this episode is for you. I sat down with Kevin Bender, founder of the New Manager Club and former CEO of Goodwill, who spent 35 years leading teams everywhere from the Philadelphia Phillies to 29 major league venues. He's sharing a simple coaching framework that helps new managers, especially working moms, ditch burnout, build stronger teams, and actually enjoy leading again. You don't want to miss this one. Hey mama, welcome to Career Growth for Working Moms. If you're stuck in a job that doesn't fit or burning out trying to do it all, you're in the right place. I'm Shannon, a career coach and fellow working mom. Here, you'll get simple career strategies and strength-based leadership tips to help you grow with clarity and confidence. So grab your coffee or reheat it for the third time and let's do this. Hello, welcome. I'm so excited to have Kevin Bender with me today. Kevin knows firsthand what it takes to lead under pressure. Over his 35-year career, he's led teams everywhere from being the director of retail for the Philadelphia Phillies to overseeing retail operations at 29 major league venues and even serving as COO at Goodwill. But here's what makes Kevin stand out. He's passionate about helping new managers ditch the old school way of managing and instead step into a coaching style of leadership, one that builds stronger teams, reduces stress, and actually helps people enjoy leading. Now, through his work at the New Manager Club, Kevin's developed a simple but powerful coaching formula that helps managers lead with confidence and balance, something I know so many working moms in leadership roles are craving. Kevin, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to dive in today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Shannon. This is fantastic. Big fan of your show, so I'm very excited to be on today.
Thank you. So, your leadership journey has been incredible. Looking back over your span of 35 years, what lessons did you learn early on that you wish every new manager, especially like working moms, could know from the start?
Well, when I first started in a position of leadership, I was never trained how to be a leader. Most leaders get promoted because they're very good at their job,
Right.
and then the company just assumes that they're going to be good leaders and teach people how to do that job. So I fell into the trap of, once I got promoted, I just began to work harder. And I guess I told myself I was leading by example, right? I would
Right.
jump in and finish the job, or I would, um, you know, realize that it'd be quicker if I did it myself and just did it. So as I worked harder and put in longer hours, I got promoted because my team was successful. So then I had to work harder and
Right.
and longer hours, and then I get promoted. And what ultimately happened was I couldn't outwork the job anymore. I got to a position where I just couldn't outwork the job, and started to fail. I had always been a captain of the football team and had these leadership skills. And I said, well, what am I doing wrong? How do I figure out how to really make this thing work? So I started focusing on what successful managers and successful coaches were doing. And what I ultimately found out is people don't want to be managed. They want to be coached. They want
Right.
someone that they can trust that's going to help them get from where they are to where they want to be. So once I started implementing that, my own personal career really skyrocketed. And it wasn't because of me, it was because of this high performing teams I was assembling. And my work life balance got much better. My joy of the work got much better. And ultimately, my people started becoming wildly successful. So I put together a whole framework of how to be a coach rather than a manager. And if your people succeed, you're ultimately going to succeed.
I love that. If your people succeed, you're going to succeed. That's true. So what part of putting into practice the coaching versus managing, what does that look like for these moms
I
or
really
anybody
found
you coach? But
this really overlaps with everyone, but in sports, I'm very excited to be on the show today because women are becoming a huge part of sports now, which has been way too long. right?
Yes.
That you're beginning to see them in the C suites of ownership. You're seeing them run stadiums. Um, some of the
Baseball
prime
umpire.
exactly, exactly. So it is great, and I really modeled this whole framework around sports. You know, I was fortunate to be one of the first district managers at Dick's Sporting Goods, and
Oh,
I worked for the Philadelphia Phillies. You know, so for me, it just kind of went together. And
right.
then I think people understand sports a little bit better than management, so it's easier for
Yes.
them to understand. So the 6 parts, I think the probably the most important, the first part is you've gotta get out of this manager's mindset and get into a coaching's mindset. And it sounds very similar, but there are very distinct differences.
Mhm.
Coaches aren't on the field of play. They're not allowed on the field of play, right?
Right,
So
right,
where in the past, I would say, well, I'm leading by example, jumping in and doing the work. The coach can't do that.
right,
It's more difficult for you, but you have to teach your players how to do it and how to do it very well. You also have to respect your players. You also have to have the respect of your players. You know, it's very much this coaching a football team, if you were.
right,
If you had a player in the locker room who was saying, "This team's terrible, you know, this isn't going to work, we're going to lose," you wouldn't have that player on your team. So
right.
you've got to develop this chemistry of your team. So I think the very first thing you got to do is really get a coaching mindset. The second thing, and this is probably the biggest tool that most managers are not using, is you really have to manage by walking around. You know, this was made famous years ago with Tom Peters in Search of Excellence, and you know, David
Mhm.
Packard used to walk out onto the assembly line and see what was going on. You know, Walt Disney was probably the biggest manager by walking around, always in the park. And
Right,
it's the only way you're going to understand your players. You're going to understand what problems that they're facing, how you can clear the path. And then I use what I call the skills versus will matrix, where as you're walking around and talking to your team, you're finding out the level of skill of each player
right.
and the level of will that they bring to the game. And
Mhm.
ultimately, you want to try and get those low skill, low will people to be high will, high skill.
Right.
And once you do that, boy, now you've got a high performing team. So
Right.
the second thing is you got to walk around and really know your team. Third
Mhm.
thing is I've really got away from, and this might be a shock to some people, but corporate America is all about goals, right? I
Yes.
got away from the goals. I really focused on the most valuable priorities. So,
Mm.
an example would be something that would relate to everyone. Say you're trying to lose weight, okay?
Mhm.
If you set a goal of losing 50 pounds, that's a challenge for you. You know, it's a big
Right,
goal. It's off in the distance. You can
right,
go off the wagon pretty quick. But if you say, I will reach that goal if I eat 1,800 calories a day and I walk 3 miles. Okay.
right.
Now you don't focus on that goal. You just focus on those two priorities. That's all
Yes.
you got to do. No matter what, every day you stay within your 1,800 calories and you walk 3 miles a day, you will lose those 50 pounds.
Right.
There's no time frame on it, but you'll lose those 50 pounds. You can do the same thing in work. If you know that it takes 50 sales calls to land one sale and you have to land two sales a day, then your most valuable priority is make 100 phone calls, right?
Right.
Very simple.
Right.
Um, and it's very exciting because there's quick wins for your people that
Mm.
you can celebrate, you can move on and really enjoy those wins. And then that brings us to the next thing is create a winning culture. I've worked in businesses where um, managers just caught people doing the wrong thing. And you
Mm.
really should catch people doing the right thing, right?
Yes. Yes.
Focus on the wins. You're not ignoring when somebody does something wrong. You know, you have to have a feedback model and address that.
Right.
But it's so much more fun coming to work when you get a win and you're
Yeah.
excited. You know,
Yeah.
one of the things we did at the Phillies was we had at every exit door, we had a big ship's bell. And we had a sign there that said, if you got amazing customer service, ring the bell. Well, every time they rang the bell, it was a win for every employee, so the
Right.
employees would all cheer that they rung the bell. So you've got to create that culture of winning, not losing.
We just went to a place that had that same thing. It was a bell for good
Really?
service, and my kids were like, "Let's ring the bell."
Exactly, exactly, and then it just changes the whole atmosphere,
Yes, it is.
Mel Robbins talks about it, and I believe in it so much.
Yeah.
You bring the weather to
Hmm.
right? If you
Yes.
come in and you're moody and cloudy and thunderstorms, your people are gonna feel that way. If you come in
Absolutely.
sunny and bright, it's a great day, your people are gonna feel that way. So,
Yes.
you've really gotta create that culture of winning. Uh,
Yes.
Thing is change and innovation. Every business, most of them do it the wrong way. That's why people fear change. I don't believe people fear change. I think they fear rapid change, and I think they fear revolution, right?
Right.
You address it the right way. And, in my program, we talk about AGCAR, where there's 5 stages of addressing the change to work them into the change. Um, they're going to accept it if they understand the why behind it. Often we just say, starting immediately, we're no longer coming in at 8 o'clock, we're coming in at 7:30. Well,
Right.
everybody's world's turned upside down. But if
Right.
5 weeks before that, say, there's a reason for this. We really need to do this, and we want your input. And how can you do that? Um, and people don't have a problem with change. And it's inevitable. In every business, there's change, there's innovation. And
Absolutely.
and then the sixth part of this framework, I really focus on time and energy. I really don't believe there's you can't control time. You only have 24 hours.
Everybody
But
has the same amount of time a day.
exactly. But you can control it with the energy that you put forward while you're there. Um, if you're very productive in the same amount of time as somebody that's not very productive, you're going to get a lot more out of it. So it's just there's some really simple tools that can make you double your productivity. And again, that will start allowing you to enjoy your job. And I put this all together because, when I first became a supervisor, I would imagine the same with you too, you just don't get any training. And
No, you don't.
statistically, 60% of all new managers fail, because they didn't get so they're just kinda out there winging it.
Right.
Um, so I put this together. I used it in my career, very successful. So many first-time and new managers went on to be very successful. The people who replaced me when I moved on, were one-time associates that had moved up. So it's worked out very well for me. It's worked out for the people that we're helping. And it's very simple to do.
Yes, I love that. I love that. So, burnout is huge for the listeners and for moms. It's just seems to be very common. So, using this framework and using this, do you think that that would also help prevent burnout, or do you have some other strategies that work that you
Well,
have seen
I,
work for well
I
for
do
that?
think this helps. One of the things with most valuable priorities, we talk about you have to keep a scorecard, right?
Mhm.
Um, People need to know how they're doing. Uh, if you went bowling and there was no pins and you just rolled a ball down the alley, not much fun, right? You
Right.
you get tired of it, you walk away. But if you
Right.
keep a scorecard of how you're doing and you're winning and you celebrate those wins, that truly helps um, stop the burnout. You feel like you're accomplishing something, you're working towards something bigger. And also, one of the things I think companies need to do, and we don't do enough of it, is cross train. I think that really helps reduce burnout. And in the long run, it certainly improves the performance of the organization as well, doing the
Yes.
cross training. Everybody likes to learn something new. So we everywhere I've operated, we've always had a very stringent cross training policy. So after about 2 months, you start getting a little stagnant with what you're doing. you start learning something else. So, and it makes them a very valuable player on your team.
Yes, yes. I think that that's huge because it's a win-win for everybody, the
Sure.
organization and the managers or the workers and all of that. So, uh, so what do you think would be one of the biggest mindset shifts that these working moms need to make to really step into their confidence as more of a coach than manager?
What one of the biggest things is it takes forever to earn trust and only a few seconds to lose it. And I
Yes.
think sometimes new managers don't understand how you earn trust. And truly, for me, the best advice I could give to new managers or working moms that are becoming new managers are the best way to earn trust is give trust. And that's very difficult.
Mhm.
People really struggle with delegating. And delegation does so many things that you don't realize at first. One, by you trusting them, they start trusting you.
Right.
When your employees or your team knows that they can make a mistake and they're not going to get fired, um, that's earning trust. When you're teaching them to do a job and allowing them to do it themselves in a manner that works best for them, that delegation is beginning to teach them to be a coach. So
Yes.
when you get promoted, they're in a position to do it. Now, I always talk about the delegation rungs of the ladder. A brand new employee, you're not going to give them a project that's on rung five. You're going to give
Right.
them the first rung project, and when they earn to go to the next and to the next and to the next. And and working moms, uh, they want the household, and a lot of that is delegation. The kids have chores, the husband does one thing, they do one thing. It's very much the same at work, where
Right.
you can't do it all yourself. So you've got to give up some of that. And ultimately, it's going to help you tenfold down the road because you're teaching them to take over your job. And when you leave for the day, you can leave knowing that someone's going to be there making the same decisions you would do. So um,
Absolutely.
the best way to earn trust is to give trust.
I love that. I love that. And I think you're right because we, as moms, I can say we, but
Yes,
we have a tendency to not want to delegate because we think we can do it all, and then
sure.
that actually leads to the burnout that we were just talking about. So delegating and trusting your team, that's huge because it also helps you also not burn out. It helps them
Yeah,
build trust and you build trust. So I love that full circle right there.
yeah, absolutely. And it's critical to be successful.
Yes, yes. So, where can our listeners connect with you, Kevin?
Well, we have the newmanagerclub.com that you can go on there. We have a tremendous amount of free resources on there. We have the blog on there, and you can join the club for only $9 a month. It's very inexpensive, and we have weekly calls. We have guest speakers on there. Uh, the whole coaching formula is on there. Today, if you go on the site, one of the free tools is a 103-page workbook that explains the entire coaching formula framework. So, they certainly can go on there. I'm on LinkedIn, or they can just email me and ask for advice, and I'll help them out.
Oh, thank you. Well, as we wrap up today, I always love to leave my listeners with a powerful action step that they can take today or this week. What would you like to challenge them to do?
The thing for me, and I think, it goes back to sports. When I was with the Philadelphia Phillies, Chase Utley, one of my favorite players, he would come to the ballpark at 10 a.m. for a 7 o'clock game. And he was mentally prepared for that game when that game started. He had done his whole routine. Uh, I think it's so important to get a great morning routine and get yourself psyched up and excited to go to work. You're expecting your team to give their best every day. You should be expecting the same out of yourself. So you should go prepared, ready to go. and be the best coach you can be for your team. They deserve it. And you know what? If you do that every day, they're going to start doing it as
Yeah.
well. And it's going to be great. So my advice to everyone would be prepared to go and make it a great day.
I love that. I love that. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it was my pleasure. I'm so excited to be on here. I've been listening to you for a while, so it's been fantastic and great to see you in person.
Thank you. Hey, Working Mama. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, would you take 30 seconds to share it with a friend who's stuck in her career but doesn't want to sacrifice her family to grow? Also, please leave a quick review on Apple Podcasts. It seriously lights me up to know this show is helping you navigate burnout, find clarity, and lead with confidence. All right. Time to shut down my laptop and pretend I'm not hiding from folding that laundry. I'll meet you back here soon for another episode of Career Growth for Working Moms. You've got this.